These cabinet members, all the powerful people live in Kampala or out
They live in Kampala, but
their
bread is not buttered from Kampala. They have their constituencies. If you ask Mario Musia whether they should do a road in Kololo or in his constituency, where would he vote it to go?
The Minister of Works lives here, the Attorney General lives here, the Minister of KCC is here.
Are people from here?
Yes, they are people from
But that's not the criteria we use when allocating resources.
They do not occupy the most politically. They don't have the political weight to tilt resources. But even when they live here, the other thing is that their home constituencies, those are, just imagine, put yourself in Seven's shoes. You went to Kanungu, they voted you 90%, or in Kamwenge, or in Fort Poto, and they're demanding for a road. And then there are these guys who never voted for you also demanding for a road, and you have to distribute resources. First of all, we should remember that Museveni is first.
Masaka didn't vote for us. They have good roads.
Museveni, first and foremost, is a human being. That's before he becomes the president, he's a human being. And if I was in his shoes, I can understand, when I put myself in his shoes, I understand his decision making. He may argue that we need to connect the country rather than connect the city. He has told me this himself. I have argued with him on Kampala, and he has said, strategically, for the economic development of Uganda, the most important thing is not to connect the city to itself, but to connect the city to the wider country. And I say, but look, Mr. President, he says that you need veins and arteries that are free to get the blood to move. But I said, your heart is filled with cholesterol, it's clogged. It can't pump the blood that's supposed to go through those arteries and veins, yes. But his ideological position of connecting the country to the city rather than connecting the city to itself, notwithstanding, I think that if you put yourself in his shoes, assuming the people of Kamwenge who gave you 94% come looking for a road, and the guys of Kampala who gave you, he got 20% in Kampala. Something like that. Got 20%.
The people of Kijura have been voting him almost 100%. They've been crying for that road since since time immemorial.
But of course, your
area in Chehulikire is, you can't climb up that hill.
But the voting behavior is not the big criterion we use to allocate resources. Otherwise, northern Uganda would never have roads and so forth. Those areas which oppose it.
You've been trying to get them over.
For the last 20 years.
No. But we have been pumping resources in North, even when it was not voting for another.
Donors were pumping resources there. Now it is the government doing it.
No, donors at whose invitation?
Through Northern Uganda Construction Program.
Until 2006,
they just jump there at the Northern Uganda.
Dr. Bariomusa, until 2006,
yes,
it was largely donor money and NGO money in Northern Uganda. 2006 going forward, a lot of government money has gone there. And you can see the shift.
But how do donors come into the country?
No. The return,
and who determines where the donors
return
go?
on investment by the government to Northern Uganda is evident in the votes that, and in the changing map.
The voting return on investment in Kampala is very low. That's why when Jennifer Msisi came and did things, Museveni's votes fell from 245,000 votes to 157. And now, in the last election, to 126. So. Okay. So I think that the voting pattern...
The point I am making that we serve the whole country, even when there are areas that don't vote NRM, we still extend services there.
The people of Kampala watching you don't believe that. And that's the point Andrew is making.
They should believe me because I am at
because and he's linking it to the voting numbers.
So why don't you have roads in Kampala? Why is there a correlation between Kampala's voting behavior?
We have resources in Kampala.
And the services.
You can say it's not sufficient, but also we have problems of planning, which comes with management style, but also competence.
Mr. Kampala, is that a good excuse?
No, I'm not saying it's a good excuse.
Just a minute.
I'm not saying it's a good excuse. I am simply telling you that you can have resources, and indeed Kampala has resources. It may not be sufficient, but management, both technical and political, is a problem that we must deal with, and therefore, and that impacts on the planning.
And that's the critical question.
Yes.
Under the Kampala Capital City Authority Act,
yes,
which came into force in 2010, it was enacted, yes, just
around there, yes.
2010.
2011. 2011.
At 2010, that's when it was enacted, going into 2011 elections. Yes. I think it was in December when it was passed, it was enacted. The city shifted to the central government. You have two ministers managing the city. The central government is appointing all the technical people that run the city. And like Andrew says, when Jennifer Msisi tweaked things around and Kampala became livable, she was jettisoned.
No, this is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I'm talking about management competence. Clearly in the Kampala City Council, both the technical and the political, there is grave incompetence even if you were to give them
Why?
resources.
The question is why?
That's not true, actually. The problem of Kampala right now, I can state it with without fear of contradiction, is there is very little resources being given to the city.
And that's been running for about the last 5 years.
In fact, if you look at their budget for road maintenance, road construction and everything for this financial year, I think it's something like a paltry 40 billion they had given them, which cannot even fill one single pothole. Now, Uganda, very bad. So,
Okay.
so,
the visitors
I
will
want to
carry
say
the
that
roads to their countries.
But well, you want to be,
You're trying to impress the visitors.
You want to impress them.
Let's move on. Andrew, you made your point. Let me hear from Honorable Winnie Kiza.
Maybe just picking it up from where Andrew has left it, it's interesting to note that good things that this government of Museveni wishes for Ugandans can only come when we are expecting visitors. Kampala became smart during, that's when we saw some roads being opened. I think Musisi tried to open some roads without necessarily being pushed, only that the quality was low. And so for me, something that stood out for me is the way people in authority, the fact that they are stewards, the Mabati scandal, that ministers could just sit, distribute Mabati meant for poor people to themselves, and they will go away with it. I looked at that as an occasion for Museveni to prove that he is really against corruption and that he's ready to crack the whip on the corrupt.
That was a subject of demonstration because of the
Yes,
quality.
that was even a subject of demonstration. If you use the current road that is connecting Uganda to the DRC right now, you will not pass.
Through Mpondo or through
Through Mpondo.
Olamia?
Through Mpondo. Through Mpondo, you will not pass. To the extent that we have even been having, well, I will say some people stole an Amuko culvert, and up to now, the issue was reported.
These are your people.
The issue was reported to government. Yes, we accept they are our people. They were arrested, but the issue was reported. Nobody worked on it. Even if it was to be dealt with, the road itself. Why that poor quality? Because of corruption. People use wrong mixtures even on roads. The money that is supposed to be used to make good roads is eaten and wasted away because of corruption. So when you see government just looking on as ministers are eating Mabati that was meant for the poor, then you say, oh my God, shall we ever recover from this scourge?
Okay.
That one became an issue for me, and I said, this was an opportunity for President Museveni to prove that really he's standing so high on corruption and that he's for zero tolerance to corruption. When he didn't deal with it, I just knew we are left to the dogs. And then possibly maybe something to also add to what my colleagues were saying in terms of security. There is no way you are going to tell Ugandans who have lost their children and they can't be accounted for that Uganda is a safe country.
You're referring to the people of
Yes,
Rubiriha.
the people, no, the ones who were picked by security and can't be accounted for. Then you go to the Rubiriha people who were shot, who were killed. The story that has made the members of the opposition not to go to parliament. Don't you know it? You have dealt with it.
Yes,
you have dealt with it. We are saying security picked them, took them to unknown destinations. Up to now, their relatives are asking where their people are. When you tell those people that Uganda is still safe and secure, then they will say you don't know what you are talking about. When you tell the parents of the children who died in Rubiriha, closer